Being a buyer's agent, we've had the opportunity to experience over 1,000 property transactions on behalf of our clients and get a really unique insight into the experiences and the highs and lows. And I'm just going to give you the 7 most common mistakes that we see that buyers make in buying property. The first one is they don't do enough research, is that they'll just come to a show like this, meet someone they click with and then just buy a property because it looks good on a glossy brochure. Well, you've got to understand what are the supply and demand situation, what's the demographics. You've got to dig deep to get enough research. Second mistake we see that buyers do is that they don't do enough negotiation. They just pay the asking price, or they're scared to kind of bargain and haggle. So you've got to have good negotiation skills. A third one is a classic one for the home buyers. It's what I call the frustrated purchase. It's like mum and dad and the 3 kids are out every weekend looking at properties. You know, Johnny's just throwing up in the back seat and it's really hot and sweaty, and you know, you go to look at 10 properties and you get through the 3rd one, and finally the wife says to the husband, look Bill, I'm sick of looking at properties. We're just going to buy the next house we see. And they buy it and they regret it. And that's what we call a frustrated purchase. A fourth mistake is not understanding property cycles, buying simply for tax deductions. Now, tax deductions is just the icing on the cake. The key reason you're going to buy a property is because of capital growth and yield, or cash flow. They're the 2 main reasons you're going to buy. Some people don't know how to crunch the numbers or analyse the numbers. And I guess this is the most common reason, is procrastination. A lot of people are sitting on the fence, just not knowing which way to go. They'll come to a show like this, get a stack of information. They'll come again next year, year after, and not end up buying any kind of property. But those that actually take action, have researched well, have be able to make a wise decision, will do well. So I'm going to give you my 10 golden rules on how to be a successful investor and protect you from making bad decisions. First thing you're going to do is understand that you're making a very, very expensive purchase. So it does make sense to pay for good advice and to get the right people around you. And don't try and do it all on your own. Like if you're thinking, oh, I'll save 7% by not using a property manager, well, that's false thinking. You're really going to need around 7 people on your team. And those people are going to include a finance broker, a solicitor, a buyer's agent, a pest and building inspector, a tax accountant, a quantity surveyor, and a property manager. So if you can get that kind of a team around you, all those expert advisors, then that's going to stop you from making a lot of mistakes. So we'll just go through each of these one by one. The first thing, in terms of strategy, how many of you have actually got a written goal of how many properties you need and the date you're going to retire? A few of you got your hands up? Fantastic, well done. Usually it's around 3% of the audience, and or less than that. So one of the things you've got to do is actually calculate how many properties you need. So many people I speak to say, yep, Rich, I just need to buy a property. Well, sorry to tell you, one property is not going to make you wealthy, and you can't really retire on one property. So I've got an example here of how many properties you might need to get to a certain level of income. So let's just say you want to get 100K worth of income as a passive income and not have to work for that. You're going to need to have $2 million worth of property in net asset value. So how do you get $2 million worth of property clear with no debt on it? Well, the simplest way is to buy $4 million worth of property. So that's an example, might be 8 properties at 500K each, and you'd buy those over a series of years. And then at the end of that 10-year period, then you'd start paying down the debt. And don't forget, each of those properties, if you bought well in each of those properties, they're going to be appreciating in value. So that's a simple strategy that you can use to do. Now, there's a number of different, within whatever strategy you choose, there's a number of different types of strategies. And I'm not going to go through this as a whole seminar in itself, but this slide just gives you a bit of a flavour for the types of strategies that you can use. The thing I would say is don't bite off more than you can chew. If you're here as a first-time investor, don't go and do a 10 townhouse development tomorrow. Okay, so just look at what you can do within your means and within your knowledge. That's really key. Buy and hold is one of my favourite strategies. I'm not averse to selling if I can see a better opportunity, but buy and hold, you can leverage your capital growth, get into the next one, and get a mix of positive cash flow and growth properties together. Second thing you need to do is get your finance pre-approved. Getting the finance structure is just one part of the equation. Getting the property is the other part of the equation. So it's just like you can't go shopping without a credit card, you can't go shopping for property without a finance approval. One of the key things that I see people making a mistake on is just looking at the interest rate. Don't just look at the rate of interest. Look at how much you can borrow. That's really key. Just look at how much you can borrow. And don't waste time looking at properties outside your price point. The third thing I'm going to talk about, and this is what I'm going to spend the most amount of time today on, is your criteria, how to pick winners. So who'd like to learn how to pick winners? Well, I've got a fantastic new research tool that I'm going to give you in a few minutes that'll help you to really shortcut the way in which you can pick winner suburbs. First thing I'd say is if you're a home buyer, for example, I'd say sit down, partners, and just...